Hey, welcome to Musings of Them, the podcast. This is your host, Komkom, your favorite baby, coming straight to you from my home. Musings of Them is the first ever fully channeled podcast where I deliver unscripted messages of divine wisdom, guidance, healing knowledge straight to you from the source, the universe, God, creator, whatever you want to call it, and my spiritual team. Weaving in my education, life experiences, healing journey as well, I'm here to motivate and empower you as an intuitive channel and medium, spiritual advisor, and coach. So ultimately, I hope that this podcast assists you on your healing and spiritual journey so that you can embody your authentic truth and be your best self, because you deserve it. If you haven't already, subscribe to my channel to be notified of new podcasts as well as other projects I'll have on this site. And before we begin, I want to get settled into our bodies and be present with the moment with a mindfulness meditation exercise. I want you, wherever you are, to get comfortable. Maybe you're standing or sitting or laying down, whatever that is, whatever that looks like. I want you to just get comfortable with your body. Soak your fingers, wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Soak your shoulders, going backwards. Roll your neck, starting in one direction. Allow yourself to just move and feel how it feels to do these little movements in your body from head to toe. You may notice an area of tension or an area that has strain or pain. Just notice these areas and see if you can allow movement, if it's possible, to enter these areas. I want you to take the time to just move slowly, intentionally. You may begin now to reverse the circle. If you're still rolling your head or your shoulders, reverse the direction of that. If you're wiggling your toes, see if you can move in a different way. If you're wiggling or moving your arms, see if you can be like water, allowing yourself to flow where you can. Now as we come to a still, letting out the last of those movements, we take 3 of the deepest breaths we've taken all day. Grounding ourselves into this present moment, grounding ourselves on this earth, we imagine that we are taking in deep, deep breaths. As if we are trees and our roots at the end of our feet are going into the earth, down to the core of the earth. We breathe in from those roots, allowing that breath to travel upwards from our feet all the way to the top of our heads, holding our breath at the top of our heads for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we release that breath from the top of our heads to our feet, releasing anything that does not belong to you in this moment. Releasing the tension, stress, fear, insecurities, doubts, we release back into the earth. Grateful that the earth can take this from us energetically. We breathe in again, deep breaths down from the core of the earth. Bringing in the earth's abundance, earth's safety and security. We breathe that into our bodies. Up, up, up to the top of our heads. And we hold our breaths now for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Releasing that breath from the top of our heads down to our feet. Releasing
letting go of what you need to in this moment, allowing your shoulders to fall down at that out breath, your stomach to go back towards our spine, releasing and feeling that release back into the earth. On our last biggest breath, we take it in deep, allowing our stomach to expand from that core of the earth. We breathe in life's affirming energy, holding that to the top of our heads. We now hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Releasing that energy now again. What do you need to release in this moment? Allow that out breath to help you expel and release anything that needs to go right now. Knowing that it is being held by the earth, and the earth continues to hold us each and every day. And as we watch our breath return back to its natural rhythm, see if you can notice. I invite you to bring that attention to where you feel your breath the most. So some of you, it might be right at the tip of your nose, at the nostrils, feeling the heat as you breathe out and the coolness as you breathe in. It might be in your chest. It might be in your abdomen as your stomach expands and your chest deflates. Where do you feel your breath the most? Bringing attention and awareness to that location. Just follow it. What is the cadence, the rhythm of your breath? How fast, how deep are you breathing? Notice in this moment, in this time, the quality of your breath. This is not to judge or to critique how we are breathing, to just bring awareness to that we are breathing. Your mind might wander. Thoughts, feelings, sensations might pop up during this time, and that's okay. Just gently bring your breath back. Bring your mind back to return again to this breath that you hold in your body. Taking a few seconds now to just watch our breath. Gently and slowly at your own pace, bringing your awareness back to whatever room or location you are in, to the noises around you. What do you hear? What sounds? How far? How many? From which direction are you hearing them? What do you feel? Is there a breeze? Is the temperature hot, cold, warm? Do you feel your clothing on your skin? What do you feel? Now to our sight. What do you see around you? What are your eyes drawn to in this moment? What's the texture, color, size of that thing that your eye is drawn to? Now fully coming into our senses and awareness of where we are in our body placement. Are you sitting? Are you laying down? Are you standing? Bringing our awareness back into our senses and our body. We have arrived. Yay! Thank you for going through that short mindfulness exercise with me. Hopefully you feel more grounded in the present. And I think that just brings us to our channeled podcast portion, where, as y'all know, on this podcast, I ask Spirit, my spiritual team, my chi, what message should I share today for the collective? And I channel that message.
So I set this sacred space before we begin, setting the intention that I am a clear channel of the highest truth, universal wisdom, and knowledge for your highest good and the highest good of the collective. And may I speak only what is true and of the divine. And when I say divine, again, meaning God, Creator, the universe, presence, spirit, whatever you want to call it. I'm opening myself up to be a messenger of this truth. So, Spirit, what are we going to share with the collective today? What message should I bring forth? Being aligned with divine truth. Do you know what your authentic truth is? Who you are authentically when you remove expectations, when you remove limiting beliefs, when you strip away the past and allow yourself to be in the present. Seeing what comes up, that is your truth. Often we hear the word truth and it rings as this phrase that can't be defined because each person's truth is different, but the felt sense of being aligned cannot be missed. When you are living in alignment with your authentic truth, you embody the depths of your strength and power, because being aligned with authentic truth, and this is a truth that everyone has a universality is what I'll call it, means being aligned with your higher self, means being aligned with the divine. It means that you are directly moving in sync with the highest version of yourself. And when you are moving in sync with that version, with that energy, that flow of energy, you allow it to express itself into the 3D, into reality. It means that you're able to create and be a co-creator with the divine. It means you're able to envision and bring those visions into reality. Being aligned with your truth means that you are embodying all of who you are meant to be. It means that you have left behind and sacrificed the old. That is a necessity. You have to allow yourself to let go of patterns and vices and habits that no longer serve you. And in that process, you become born anew. That is the meaning of being in divine truth. But first, there is darkness. Before we can fully embody our divinity, our divine selves, and express that truth out into the world, we have to connect with it inside. And the process of doing so can be painful. It is a death of old identities, a death of old perspectives, a death of old ways of being that no longer serve your opening, your becoming and unfolding into transforming into this truth. And it's not necessarily a transforming, it is a becoming. It is a stepping into what is already there. It is you at the deepest level of who you can be. See, divine truth requires that we begin to see the facades and the falsity and the mask that we have erected in our lives to keep us safe. It requires that we begin to see where in our lives that we begin to shrink so we cannot be seen. Divine truth requires that we be in the world, in the present moment, allowing the universe to connect with us, because the universe is always communicating. I don't know if you've ever tried this, but if you've ever had a question or pondering and you just weren't sure which way to go, ask for a sign. If yes, show me this. If no, show me this. Or just leave it open-ended and allow yourself in the moment to be present, moving through your day, and see what the universe has to say in response to you. Allow yourself, give yourself permission to start that communication, because that's what it is. Divine truth requires communication. It requires being a channel of what is true, to be able to bring that and birth that into you and then bring it forth into society, into your life, into your relationships, into your work, into your environment, because it is only in the process of embodying your divine truth that you will reach emotional fulfillment. There is no other way, unfortunately, because that divine truth is a blueprint of your soul that already has shown you that this is the way. That if we follow this, if we allow ourselves to embody all of this, then our success, our fulfillment is guaranteed. And again, success and fulfillment mean different things to different people. But this is what resonates the most deeply to our souls. Divine truth is that communication with our soul. Divine truth, authentic truth, becoming one's authentic self leads to self-actualization. You ever met someone who is just so rooted in themselves, and the sight of it is amazing. Their presence is amazing. Not because they are better than any other human being, but because they have walked through that darkness, shed the layers that they needed to find their light that was always inside the entire time. That is the thing with divine truth, or truth. Your truth doesn't exist external to you. Your truth is in you. And in you, there is everything you need to become who you are meant to be, to embody your authentic self. You have all of that wisdom, all of that knowledge already inside of you, waiting to be birthed. The question then becomes, how long are you willing to wait? And when I mean wait, we're not talking about a passive wait. We're talking about active waiting to feel that deep alignment with yourself, knowing it's taken you years to get out of alignment. How long are you willing to give yourself the patience, the compassion, the grace on the process of becoming? of discovering your truth, because when you feel it, you will know. In the beginning, there are sometimes these feelings of wavering of, am I or am I not? Is this or is this not? Should I or should I not? But the more you allow yourself to come back, you begin to understand I wanted to say two words there. You begin to understand how your soul communicates with you. And we know this truth is deeply tied to our intuitions. It is deeply tied to our sights and our visions. It's deeply tied to our dreams and our deepest desires. It's deeply tied to the niggling feelings that we feel, or the body sensations that feel real, that we cannot deny. Our truth is deeply tied to the fullest expression of who we are. It is deeply tied to allowing ourselves to shine bright like stars. And I don't mean stars in the sense that we're all going to be famous and in the limelight. That's some of our truths. Some of us are meant to be. And some of us are just meant to shine where we are. In the lives of the people we love, in our work environments, as we walk down the streets. See, when you are in your authentic truth, your soul, your spirit, your energy radiates. It's hard to miss. There's just this something about people who are in authenticity that cannot be missed. And then it begins to awaken something in you. That's something in you that also wants to be true, and that is your soul speaking. Saying it's time for us to remember who we are. It is time for us to come back to truth, true authenticity. And the more we allow that truth to flow through us, the more we allow that energy to flow through us, it becomes more easeful. We don't have to think. We allow the energy and truth to think, to be, to do for us. And it is that process of doing that connects the energy in us into the expression of who we are, because the doing is just as important as the being. The being comes first, though. Now we're talking about divine doing. We're not talking about doing for the sake of doing, or doing to be productive, or doing to look or seem or come off a certain way. We're talking about doing as an expression of creative divine energy, of expression of our soul's wishes and dreams, as an expression of the life we want to live and who we want to be. It is the masculine energy. The being is the feminine. And we are called to balance that in truth. I think I'll talk about masculine and feminine in another episode, because I'm feeling called to in this moment. And I think it's important, especially as a non-binary person who sees myself as a balance of both, and has learned to heal, or is learning. Life is a constant learning process of arriving to a place in which those energies are balanced. What does it mean to heal the toxic masculine? What does it mean to heal the toxic feminine, the subdued feminine? Sometimes we just know. We just know. what is for us. We just know in our souls. And truth requires trusting in that no. It requires having faith that we are being guided not by ourselves in a sense, not by your singular self, but by this presence and essence and higher self that will continually to lead us straight on the path that is most aligned. And in that path does not mean that you will not face hardships or challenges, because this life is all about enjoyment. Yes, I think we as humans are meant to enjoy life. It is also about lessons and growth and transformation and allowing our souls and who we are to continually evolve in consciousness. So truth is tied to transformation. It's tied to revelation. And both of those things combined, again, going back, requires sacrifice. It requires letting go of what you know. To say, I am going to trust that there is another way. And that way is true to me on a level so deep that I cannot see, but feel in its entirety. If you haven't listened to Embodied Spirituality, this would be a good, please do, because being able to feel the truth means being embodied and being able to be a divine receptive antenna to that truth, so it is expressed through you. So let's talk about sacrifice. Giving up things, people, places, situations, ways of being that we've held on to, because they've kept us safe, because they've created comforts, because they have allowed us to distract. There are many things that we do in our days that keep us distracted. And it is those things that we are required to sacrifice. I was listening to a talk with Reverend Nchedochukwu Williams. And in that talk, she mentioned a perspective. I see her as someone who embodies their truth authentically, which is real beautiful to see in another human being. And she mentioned the perspective of someone being in the warm and another person's in the cold, and they're telling the person in the cold that, trying to explain to them how it feels to be warm. That the warmth is there, but the person who's experienced the cold has only experienced cold and colder, and so they cannot even begin to perceive what is warmth. They cannot begin to perceive what it means to be warm, and how that would even begin to settle in their human system. I'm paraphrasing here, y'all. And so, just akin to that perspective, when it comes to truth, when it comes to embodying your truth and being called to sacrifice and to let go of all of these things, to these parts of you that are deeply tied to your ego, you cannot even begin to fathom what it means to be on that other side until you're there and you're experiencing it for yourself. You cannot begin to fathom what it means to go through the pain and hardship of allowing parts of yourself to fade away and die,
parts of yourself you have held on to, these identities that we've created. So that in that space, an identity, not necessarily crafted through ego, but a personality, a way of being in the world that is in alignment with authentic truth and self can emerge. You cannot begin to fathom. And so that is where the trust and the faith come in. Because you don't know what warm is until you've experienced cold. And you can't truly appreciate warm until you've experienced the cold. Authentic truth means that we allow ourselves to be seen fully and freely, that we allow ourselves to be, that we stop self-censoring. The things we do, the things we say, how we want to play, how we want to be and exist in this world so full of diversity. It means that we give ourselves permission to be not liked. See, that was a hard one for me. Because in giving yourself permission to be not liked, to be in the world and knowing that you are not for everyone and that is okay. But the people who are for you, you will resonate with. And when you give that permission, you give that freedom. It is in that moment of permission that you allow yourself to be free, and thus giving others the freedom to be. Because their freedom sees yours, whether it resonates or not. And then they are in freedom, in choice, to be able to connect or to resonate with you. Authentic truth. And being aligned in that requires sacrifice. And there is a period of darkness in that sacrifice. A period where we aren't sure which way to go, which way to turn. You feel lost and confused. I'm somewhat there right now. And you're being called in a direction. And you go. Because it seems that direction is leading you to the light. I don't know how many of y'all have seen the movie Frozen 2. I watched it 2 weeks ago. And as a lover of animated movies, which really speaks to my inner child, that movie was sent to me by Spirit. And I said, okay, I'll watch it. And in that movie, if you are someone who is going through the darkness of transformation, where you feel called to a certain direction and you're just not sure why, it doesn't make sense. There's no reason, there's no rhyme. It just is. That movie is for you. You too should watch it. And not to give too much of it away, but there is a particular scene where one of the characters has to move through this darkness, this cave of no hope, where they feel they have no strength, no courage, they feel weak, and they're not sure which way to turn, and the song plays. If I can remember the exact lyrics, it goes, you just take the next right step. I'm not going to sing it because I don't really remember the melody, but she starts talking about you just take the next right step. And in that process of taking that next right step, and part of the step is continuing to return back to what feels true and what feels right and what you're being guided to do. One step at a time creates a path.
And eventually, in creating and taking that next right step, you can turn around and see how far you've come and realize, I've been on a journey this entire time. And you'll be able to see how far you've come. As she takes these next right steps, she eventually is able to see the light moving towards it, gathering strength along her journey, gathering power along her journey. This is really resonating for me too, y'all. Message received. And in taking the next right step, eventually the steps become easier and easier to take. That is the path. The path of walking authentic truth, being in alignment with your authentic self, is that you continue to take the next right step, right being what feels true to you. And as that process and journey unfolds, you allow yourself to blossom, moving through the winter into the spring. And it's not not everyone. I won't say it's not, but because there are some people who experience like these quick awakenings and realizations of truth. Like Eckhart Tolle. And then there are some of us who have to struggle through the mud like a lotus flower to be born, to blossom. And then there are some of us who, we all have our own paths. That's the point. But your path is yours and unique and of its own, and cannot be compared to anyone, and thus your process of discovering your truth, what your truth is unique and yours alone, and cannot be compared with anyone else's. Because there's no one who has the genetic makeup, life experiences, perspective, and combination of nurturing and naturing and nature of soul as you. You are unique. And so will be your truth. Even if that truth is similar to another's, your truth will be expressed by the very nature of who you are. And that can never be taken away, and no one can do it like you can, because that's the truth.
Musings of Them, the podcast, is sponsored by me. I am the co-founder of Healing for Liberation, or H4L. H4L is a visionary healing studio and consulting firm that provides innovative, integrative wellness, and holistic healing services, products, and spaces. If you are seeking one-on-one coaching, workshops, or events, or even intuitive guidance and energy healing that can help you release past trauma and pain, connect with your authentic truth and inner wisdom to empower you, transform, and liberate yourself and life, go to h4l.studio. That's the letter H, the letter 4, L, studio, not .com, but .studio. I also run a YouTube channel as well that provides free resources like meditation, mindfulness, Reiki healing. So I'll have the links to not only my website, but to the YouTube channel below in the About section. That's the message I have for y'all today. Remember to subscribe to my channel, like this week's episode, and to share to someone who you think this might resonate with or be helpful for. Remember, we are here to cultivate an open, honest, transparent space full of radical vulnerability, non-judgment, and unconditional love for ourselves and others. And as always, I am so grateful for your presence and taking the time and the space actually, to listen wherever you are in the world. I don't take it for granted, and it really means a lot to me. So I'll catch y'all next week, and until then, peace and love.